Hey, how's everybody doing today? It's day 263, 365 days towards racial change. My name is Tomlins Nyback. Welcome. Welcome new subscribers, newcomers. If you're just tuning in, our format, very simple here. No hate. We do not hate. We're just recognizing historical and factual trends as regards race in America, black skin in America. Excuse me, got a cold. What's it all mean? Um, how do blacks navigate it? We talk about solutions. When we look at history, factual information, so we can be properly educated and motivated to make some changes. I know personally, um, I've made some personal moves in my life. I'm waiting to consistently intersect with a like-minded community. I can't now because I'm in school I'm doing this project, working at night. So I'm very busy, but a day I'm sure is coming where there'll be a forum, some community I can be a part of. I feel that this message is important to everyone who I'm in contact with. On that note, where's the black mind in this argument that I've been making for almost a year now? How does it play out, pan out, feel, discern? What is the position of the black mind in America? And then what we have is, it's important, thinking even on that note of community. You think about any community you want. That community has, while it may have individual interests, as you parse out the communities within and stuff like that, if you step back, you want to see an umbrella over that group of individuals. Not so with black folks. You just don't see the type of unity, collectiveness that you'd see in Native Americans, in Jews, Hispanics, Arabs, or Southeast Asian brothers and sisters. That they have it. They have a banner. If you go to their section of the city, it's theirs. They mark it with language, music, decorations, names on street signs. These are all important features and facets of recognizing a group. Black folks, we don't have that. Still a lot of disunity among us. I won't go into it here, but we've talked about conditioning, meritorious manumission, and other mental devices employed against the black slaves, black community, that still prevail to this day. Some of the things to think about. On the flip side, how does the white mind perceive? I did make a minor indictment a couple of days ago. Trying to exercise white folks around the idea of how their ancestors, at least, extracted an entire culture from a people, right? I'm about as African now as this remote control. Over hundreds of years, a whole new breed of people, race is created. It's what they do with animals. You have these beautiful breeds, well, because they control mating over time, their environment, and things like that. Uh, so, you know, what do white folks think in light of this, what's been done in the land we call America? Land of the free, home of the brave. Except black folks. Yeah, we got our outliers, entertainers, talk show hosts, game show hosts. Yeah, plenty of that. But that's not in general. That's not uh, the way black folks participate in the American landscape in general. Get your financial secured, literacy in order. Know how your money works, how to work it, how to get it to work for you. Put a little something away every day. I got to get my little savings going again. I just tapered off for my vacation and school, and I'm a procrastinator, so that doesn't help. But I got to get that going. That's the right thing to do. Suggestion: can you put away $5 a day if you're working? Put $5 away a day. Have it, automate it. You to go somewhere. M1, Acorn, Robinhood, something like that. Or even your own bank. Have it flow back in. My bank, every time I use my debit card, my bank takes $1 out of my checking and puts it in savings. It's interesting to see my savings really grow exponentially right now. It's a good feeling. It's financial literacy together. Understand your money. Read a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. It's a thick book, but it'll motivate you to do the right things with your money. Use your money, plan with your money as though you're going to live forever. That'll help you focus. I'm inspired to do this work by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. He's written 3 great works, and he's got plenty of other literature out there as well. You can find him on YouTube very easily. A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. And we are in that book today. Look up page 97. We're going to be talking about Lincoln Memorial today. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice. And Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics.com. You can find Dr. Anderson at Powernomics.com. The book is called Powernomics. And also here on YouTube, easy guide to find, track down. Behind me, you see the hashtag #US2 symbol. You'll find black women supporting one another, having their conversation. From there, check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, and a Black Facebook experience. This is the World Wide Web. If you can't find your flavor, voice, do what I did. Start your own. And who knows? I'm not a big social guy. I don't get alerts. I turn all the alerts off because every time my family members, love them to death, put one little entry in, then everybody responds, and I ain't even said anything, but my email is flooded with all these notifications. So I'm not a big social person. Yeah, but I have family members that have started their own businesses, made money. It's great. I'm just on a different track. And finally, we take a fictional look at slave masters, slave life in America, Uncle Tom's Cabin. We're almost finished that book. I got a few more segments here that I've already outlined, so we're going to exhaust those, and then we'll get it back into Uncle Tom's Cabin and see Tom's latest challenge. All right, today, page 97. This is a good and educational, I think. Talking about the Lincoln Memorial, the question is, why do blacks march to the Lincoln Memorial? And we got the Million Man March, the Million Women March happened soon after that. The March on Washington, Dr. King. When I was on vacation, I went to the Lincoln Memorial. It's a little pretty crowded place, to see the white statue up there, and so Lincoln and his work, his legacy is so synonymous with freeing the slaves, and I mentioned we touched on this a little here and there as time is going on, and you want to remember Lincoln. The slaves were freed, and there was emancipation, and slavery appears to be such a focused issue around the Civil War. But black people, black interests, was not a high priority in a moral sense. The country wasn't like, oh, the beatings and the rapes and the lynchings, burning of lives, free labor, coercions, and slavery, that imprisonment. Those things, uh, getting rid of those things, extracting that experience out of black lives was not why the war. That's a nice byproduct. When I was in grade school, it looked very, believable, right? I mean, this if this doesn't touch you, don't worry about it. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, but I'm taking logic. And yesterday, the professor was talking about what's believable in an argument, and he was talking about the sun traversing the sky. And he says, for the ancient Greeks, Helios, the guy in a chariot, is riding this hot ball across the sky, right? Versus today's truth is that the Earth is spinning on an axis relative to this fixed star out there, and it appears that the sun traverses the sky. The same way with this Lincoln myth, that he like history makes it like, well, we got to help those black folks down there and stuff, get them free and stuff. That's not the motivation. There's if you've stuck around here for any appreciable time, you got to look at some of the conversations we had about the Constitution, and in there, you look at James Madison's notes about voting rights and how power would be distributed. And a lot of the conversation is whether or not there'd be black participation in those conversations. Granted, there's no black representation there. These are white guys behind closed doors determining the fate, of a million black people. I mean, come on. So we want to move away from thinking that the Civil War was to free slaves under some type of moral banner. The freeing slaves was to break up certain aspects of power in the South, and how the South were using, how the South used black representation in the land to exercise power. Look back on 3/5 of a human being arguments and conversations things like that, and put that foremost in your mind when it comes to freeing the slaves, and then you'll understand the motivations behind freeing black people and all this feel-good stuff that's forwarded and touted in history in the history books, right? You know, um, we gotta reorient ourselves properly in history. Now, you gotta appreciate Lincoln. You know, he obviously made somebody mad enough to pay the ultimate price, right? If you read a book called Creature from Jekyll Island, then you'll know the assassination wasn't even about the freed slaves and a South in shambles and things like that. You know, there's some other real financial issues that Lincoln started playing with that he didn't understand the power of it. That's another segment. So, having kind of unpacked the argument a little bit, you know, we got a better sense, better idea of Lincoln's motivation. Let's hear some words from some northern politicians about slavery, right? You know, if you remember um, Uncle Tom's Cabin and Ophelia from the north, as she comes down the south with her sensibilities and her insulated way of condemning the abuses going on in the South toward the slaves and stuff like that, how she has some northern sensibilities, and the blacks are free up north and all that. But as the story goes on, you find her true heart. She can't even touch a black person without feeling disgust, you know. And she's got to overcome that. She's going to do an experiment with taking Topsy up north. You know, that's the northern feeling and sentiment toward black folks. There's no, you know, the blacks enslaved down south, semi-cared for what that's worth. But then you had the black people free up north, but dealing with a level of apathy um, and animosity towards black folks from the north. So the north, it wasn't like the good north and the bad south. The whole nation, the whole white nation, had a certain attitude and a certain way to pigeonhole black folks in the land at the time. Listen to what northern elected elected officials elected officials said about the war. This is around July 21st, 1861. As this is what Dr. Anderson has. I did my own search, and there's a few days discrepancy, but the quote is attributed to northern elected officials. It says, "Look, the war is not being waged for the purpose of overthrowing the established institution of slavery." We're not here. What they're saying, this ain't about overthrowing slavery. That's not the central issue. The central issue is to defend the U.S. Constitution and preserve the Union. The slavery, aside from the way the South was using slaves, configuring slaves in the power structure of a nation. Aside from that, the North didn't have any great burden, you know. But they had to break up that power structure that was going on in the South. It was very elaborate too. There's 3/5 of a human being, it means that, if you got a slave master. Let me just back up a little more. There's these voting rights and voting powers attributed to slave masters, and the slave masters counted their slaves for votes. It's a silent group, no doubt, and so the Congress had rhetoric and debates. They broke it down. Okay, a slave is 3/5 of a human being. Well, you do your math, you get a slave owner with 500 slaves. That slave owner has 300 votes. Very powerful position. Especially right around the Missouri Compromise, the South came in power. Slave uh, slave holders being given control and all that. They stayed in power a long time for some of that, right? Uh, so the North couldn't compete with that kind of political power. There were blocks of people under control of one man, like a slave master had over his slaves. Every 5 slaves, 3 votes, and those votes are cast according to the way the master wants it. So that had to uh, be the source of tension for ages, and the North just snapped. We'll just uh, streamline the commentary. The North just snapped one day and said, "No, this is over." And the slaves that were down there in the South just happened to be there, happened to be the apparatus, the machine. But this freedom, emancipation, and all this from Lincoln was not about uh, doing, giving the black people a good turn. Okay, not in the least. Uh, you find Lincoln balking. It's interesting. Dr. Anderson pulls out this interesting statistic. 23 years Lincoln was in Illinois as a lawyer, stuff like that. We have no record of him advocating for black folks and stuff like that. We have him pushing back against his vice president, Hannibal, someone easy to find. The vice president wanted to make slavery a central issue, and all the upheaval, the things that were going on. Lincoln shot him down. Um, Lincoln did his best to, he had to mitigate too much Southern upheaval. That you still had the land and the space. You had plantations. You had crops. You had a lot in place there, and he didn't want to disrupt that too much. So now he's doing his own balancing act with power in regards to the slaves down there. But you'll find him. Even when I went to the Lincoln Memorial, there was no. There's huge. They got these huge placards carved into the wall, whatever, of some of his speeches and all that. He ain't talking about black folks. So you got one on this side, one big one on the other side. Nothing about black folks on those plaques. They're just his speeches and his eloquence. Try to understand, that's the position. That's always been the position of black folks in the land. This passive group, impotent, with no say in stuff going on. But we sure can entertain and work our asses off. I'm the working asses off part. I used to entertain a little bit. Maybe I'll get back to that. I don't know. Yeah, but white folks and the powers that be love the entertainment. Oh, some other little tidbits. While I guess emancipation was, uh, uh, decreed maybe during the war, but it was not legal in the South. The South was still independent. The South had not been won, so there was no real emancipation till after war. Then emancipation became a national interest. Uh, North did not necessarily embrace blacks. You see the rise of Jim Crow, 100 years of Jim Crow. You don't see, and Jim Crow, is these mass incarcerations and things like that for frivolous crimes, if they're crimes to begin with. You see that happening. And you don't see the whites engaging in another uh, political and military campaign as the southern whites are rounding up black folks, sending them to places like Angola and other prisons and stuff. If you want to get a good comical view of that, look at Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence in a movie called Life, and that'll give you a good idea of what is going on. They were accused of killing the man, but there was no real investigation. The judge had two black men, apparently young, working, uh, built for work. Judge says life, and he said life. Showed all his teeth, had a smile. Yeah, yeah. That's what was going on in the South. You don't hear blowback, pushback from the North. No military campaign to bring about change for black folks. The North secured their control, and the South could still just do what it wanted. Just had to be in the Union with free people. So we're still an out group. I don't care what it looks like, how well we do, what it looks like on television and our commercials and our athletes and all that. Black folks still have a long way to go, and we need to have a better and proper assessment of Abraham Lincoln, this big white man in the chair down in Washington, D.C., because his legacy is powerful, profound, preservation of the Union and such. But he's not some kind of messiah for black folks in any sense of the word. I'm Thomas Nyback. That's day 263 out of the way. 365 days towards racial change. Please tune in tomorrow. Bye-bye.